All right, good afternoon. This is the recorded lecture for week 1 in CAD pattern making. And I'm going to share our screen so that you can see the slideshow as I present the week 1 lecture here. All right, remember to get attendance. The live lecture is important, but I know timing-wise, not everybody can perhaps attend the scheduled time. So I am recording this for your convenience. It is up to you, though, to watch the video and do the summary assignment associated with it in order to get your 10 points credit for it. Second part is your forum discussion. You do this in every class. Post by Thursday and reply to a peers post no later than Sunday for that week. Remember, your post, initial post to the topic is a minimum of 200 words. If you're less than 200 words, you will not receive full credit for it. Our topics in week 1 is taking a look at what is CAD/CAM. They are associated with each other. It's just computer-aided design. The other is computer-aided manufacturing. And usually if you've got the manufacturing that's computer-aided, it comes from somewhere via the design. There's some vocabulary that is associated with those lessons. There is a terms list, and then through those narrated lectures in the CAD/CAM lesson, as well as the reading that are associated with these, you should be able to come up with all the definitions for the terms. Then the main core part of this program is looking at using Adobe Illustrator for pattern development and manipulation. Now on this slide, I have a couple extra different companies out there that their programs are specifically for garment design. It is for the actual pattern making. All the little tools and things in that are for plotting points, manipulating or moving darts, slashing and creating pleats, and all those kinds of things you do, but it's very specific to the garment. Gerber technology is one that is US based as far as being made here in the United States and promoted. Now these programs are very expensive. They're really way too much. They're in the thousands. That's multiple thousands of dollars. So an individual, it's just not feasible or realistic for one to be able to go out and purchase it. Now a company can invest in it knowing that it's going to be used every day, 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week, if not more than that, utilized. And then these companies or their programs work seamlessly with going into straight into the production process of making markers and so on for the cut and sew part of garments. Each of these programs also offer a grading systems that would make all the different sizes once you have perfected a pattern at usually your sample size, a size 8. Now, there are services out there that they don't do the manufacturing of clothes. All they offer are the pattern making services. And those kinds of companies will have invested in this. And that could be a one individual, but you're doing it for a company venture, a business venture, not just to have on your computer for personal use whenever you happen to sit down and want to make a pattern. So they are making a business out of it. And which is, a great thing. They can develop your patterns, or you can make your own pattern by hand in your sample size 8. But once that is perfected, then you send it to those services, and then they can do all the grading for the different sizes as you specify for you, and you just pay them a fee for that. They can also make markers. Markers are done for every single garment, for every single different type of fabric that garment may be made out of, as well as sometimes for every different size. Or they may find if they pair up pattern pieces from large sizes and small sizes, they can efficiently use the fabric better than trying to squeeze all the large, extra large mediums and everything all on one marker. So markers are very important. Even if a company were making, let's say, the exact same shirt, but in a white fabric, a yellow fabric, a blue, a purple, and a red. You had those choices. Well, all those fabrics, very unlikely that they would all be the exact same width. So a different marker would be made for each of those blouse styles per the width of that fabric for that colorway that is needed. So again, that is something that can be done much faster using a computer and can be contracted out to a service. Who knows? You might even consider offering that as you being a service provider and build your business on that. All right. Why do you need to know CAD pattern making? I want you to consider these thoughts. It's actually, I believe, part of your discussion this week, so you might want to think about it, mull over it. Is it better to know how to make your patterns by hand? Or is it better to know how to generate the patterns in a computer? Which way is better? Which method might be faster? Is there a reason why one might be faster than the other? In the long run, is that saved time making a better product or not? These are all things to consider. And the discussion I think I have you read some articles in there so that you can perhaps get some insight on some different points of view of that. Your assignments this week, of course, always your forum discussion and quiz. You do have an assignment to define the terms. And I'm going to refresh your memory in Illustrator. First off, by a pockets assignment. You will just be finding some actual pictures of a pocket example on the internet and then trying to create that shape of that pocket in Illustrator, so that you get practice, again, a refresher on how to manipulate your shapes, change your stroke line, your fill line. You will learn how to actually outline outside of the shape. This is called offset path, but it is putting the seam allowance around your garment piece or pattern piece. So learning how to do that, and then change a line that's actually where the stitching line is, not where you cut with the scissors to cut it out of fabric, but the stitching line you change to a dotted line. So it's a kind of a simple basic type of assignment that brings you into remembering your tools in Illustrator. Dart manipulation furthers that. It will be some of the same manipulations you did in your previous pattern making class, the first one you had, where you did it on paper. But with these, I want you to be able to, again, imagine or picture where that dart is moving according to the bodice front. Where would that be coming from? But you're learning how to do it in Illustrator, how to cut a path and rotate segments or sections of a path from a center rotating point, a pivot point. So it shows you how that works. And then going back in and putting seam allowance back on, you'll be practicing that. So that's the dart manipulation one. There are videos in each of these lessons to show you how to use Illustrator for that. And then the bodice draft. This one walks you through the practice of actually drafting a pattern. If you had an individual and wanted to take their specific measurements, and this tells you what measurements you would need, we'll just work from the table in the book, but if you had somebody with specific measurements, you can draft a sloper pattern custom for them that works for them. So this walks you through doing that. In case someday you want to do it, whether you want to do it by hand or on computer, that would be up to you at that point. But this again strengthens your knowledge of Illustrator in using those tools in order to do that. The main thing I want you to remember or pay attention to when you're in there is putting the correct scale to your measurements and your grid setup. and it is covered, I believe, in the pocket. So, you know, start at the first assignment and work your way through that, because they kind of build upon each other. Don't try and jump forward, do bodice draft before you did pockets. Start at pockets, okay? Moving forward through that. If you have the means to be able to play the video like on a phone or a little tablet, and then be working on your computer, that way you can pause any of the video lessons while you're doing it in Illustrator, that will make it easier. Another thing that makes it easier is to actually have a mouse for moving your cursor and clicking here or there. It can be done with your little finger pad on the base of your computer. It's just a little tougher sometimes to do that. So again, if you have a mouse to use, you can use a plug-in or a wireless one. You can get them at the store for usually a plug-in one, I think is about $7, but it makes using Illustrator a whole lot easier. The rest of this class in the next several weeks will readdress some of the pattern making things that we had learned in our first pattern making class, but you're going to learn how to do slash and spread, added fullness, and making faces, making collars, making different skirt shapes, things like that in Illustrator. The main thing to remember is keeping the scale correct, because if you make a pattern in here, the truest test to know if you are on the right track is actually to print it out. Of course, it would print out on small pieces of paper, and you would have to tape it back together. And I'll show you that at a little bit later in the course, how you would set that printer up to do that. And then cut it out of fabric and sew it up. Does it sew together correct? Did you keep the scale the right size so that it's coming out to fit your dress form and things like that? So we'll talk some more about that next week as you get into using a sloper that I provide for you for your assignments. But this week, you're getting your toes wet again in remembering how to use Adobe Illustrator. And I'm here if you've got any questions, so be sure to email me or something if you're having trouble. I do appreciate you checking out the recording. Unfortunately, you weren't here to join me face-to-face. Miss you on that, but I will see you all soon. Let me exit this, and then I can end our recording. Y'all have a great day. Don't forget to submit your summary on this.